Yes guys, welcome back to another video, welcome back to the GBFC office, and welcome to Premier League predictions, week number 10. We're into double figures now. The season it's not the start of the season anymore, we're getting into the nitty gritty. Fixture congestion is starting, injuries are hitting teams, we're starting to understand who's going to be in what kind of battle come the end of the season. We've got some teams that are on their way down, some teams that are on their way up, and this week we have got some big fixtures, some potential for some shocks, and I would say that in this week's game week 10, I've put some interesting scores, so make sure you stay around to the end. I do want to apologise because I'm sure you can all understand it's been a bit of a hectic week and I've not had a chance to count the prediction scores that you guys sent in to me on Twitter at Mr. George Benson. I've not had a chance to count them up this week because I've literally got in from Ajax about 10 minutes ago and I wanted to get this out because it's a bloody Friday night kickoff. They don't think about people like me and you and everybody else who we've got things to do, you know, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, sometimes even Monday. Which was wonderful, by the way, watching Sheffield United beat Arsenal whilst I was on the train up to London to get my flight to Amsterdam. Top class. I got 6 points last week. The only correct score that I got was Aston Villa 2, Brighton Hove Albion 1, thanks to a last-minute, last-kick goal from Matthew Targett. So appreciate that, Villa. I've been backing you to win most weeks, and they got it last week. But this week, we start off with the game that is kicking off in a few hours' time. Southampton versus Leicester. I say this every week, and Leicester keep delivering. They're not always putting in the most electrifying performances. One thing this season about Leicester, which is really key, is that they're not playing European football. If we're looking at teams like Manchester United, who go to Partizan and only win thanks to a penalty, it's the only shot on target again, teams like United will be struggling as a result of playing Europa League football. Champions League football, it always takes it out of the teams, you have to use a bit more rotation. Whereas with Leicester City, Brendan Rodgers has pretty much got a clean bill looking through week in, week out. The focus is solely on the Premier League, and this is a fixture that Leicester will be looking to get the upper hand over their rivals who are challenging for the top 4 and top 6 places by getting a Friday night win. I focus the majority of the talk here on Leicester. Southampton, I am not convinced by them. I think at times earlier in the season they put in good performances that probably didn't get the results that the performances would have warranted, but recently they've not impressed me whatsoever, ever since going down to Southampton and beating them 4-1, Chelsea, of course. This game, I'm going to say Leicester to get an upper hand on their rivals with a 2-0 away win to kick off the Premier League this weekend. So match number 2 is Manchester City versus Aston Villa. City are at home. It's a chance for them to get the win, with Liverpool playing a big game at the weekend on Sunday against Spurs. And this is a chance for City to build upon what was a very good win last weekend away at Crystal Palace. They've scored 5 goals again in the Champions League. Raheem Sterling with yet another hat-trick. The guy is just absolutely phenomenal for club and country. Raheem Sterling and Manchester City, they're getting back into a bit of form now after the defeat that they got a couple of weeks ago. That was a bit of a shock to everybody. Having Liverpool playing on the Sunday means that if City can get the 3 points, which I think they will tomorrow, it puts the pressure back on Liverpool again. Aston Villa, as I've always said this season, they're a team that I think will do quite well, and they're starting to get a couple of wins now, and they're starting to move up the table, but this is going to be one step too far. Going to say City 3, Villa 1. So we've only got 3 o'clock kickoffs this Saturday, which is always a bit of a shame. I like how, you know, there's more stuff on TV, there's more football for us to watch. I'm also a little bit old school in the sense that I always like Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock to see like 6 or 7 fixtures, which we don't really get that much anymore. And it's good because it brings the money into football. It's a whole different story. It's just like a sentimental thing from when I was a little kid. Not that I'd be able to watch it anyway, because I've got to drive up to Burnley once I got this video out, and then my Chelsea preview later on today, so it's still all systems go. 3 o'clock kickoffs, the first one is Brighton versus Everton. Brighton were relatively unlucky last week against Aston Villa. They went down to 10 men and they conceded in the 94th minute of the game, which is never a nice way to lose. And after the win against Spurs, they're back at the Amex Stadium. Everton got a huge result last week. I said in my predictions that I thought the West Ham would beat Everton, which would probably leave Marco Silva with the sack. Everton were very good, got the win, and it bides Marco Silva some time, really. If they can go to Brighton, which are a team, again, who haven't really impressed me that much this season on too many occasions, Everton could start to pick up a bit of steam here and can start moving up the table. And I've gone with Brighton 1, Everton 2. Everton to build on that result last week. If you look through their squad, they've actually got a pretty decent side. They should be doing a lot better than they are. And I think back-to-back Premier League wins in match week number 10, 2-1 Everton win. So Watford versus Bournemouth. Watford got a 1-1 draw away at the new White Hart Lane last weekend. Spurs' Premier League form isn't very good. Watford are still chasing their first win. Bournemouth were very disappointing at home to Norwich. And I think that Watford are going to get their first win of the season in this one. I don't think there's going to be many goals. I'm going to say Watford 1, Bournemouth 0. Watford to build upon a good result last week against Spurs, get that first win, and then maybe they can start shooting up the table. As for Bournemouth, I thought they were going to score goals last week. They didn't, and it was a pretty awful game of football, to be honest. Watford to win this one. The final 3 o'clock kickoff on Saturday is West Ham United versus Sheffield United. I watched the Sheffield United versus Arsenal game on the train up to London to then get the bus to go to Luton, to fly to Ajax, and the rest is history. I'm back in the office now. We've gone full circle, as we always do. Sheffield United were absolutely phenomenal. And I think that something in football that often goes amiss due to all of the attention to detail with statistics these days and how artificial intelligence can predict this and we can use that stat to talk about this. So many things in football, unquantifiable things in football, such as passion, heart, desire, determination, things that don't have a statistical number. So many of those words, so many of those actions, emotions, and collectiveness, togetherness was all there last week from Sheffield United. It was a phenomenal performance to keep Arsenal out, to win the game at Bramall Lane, and that is credit to their players, credit to their fans, and credit to their manager, Chris Wilder, who, you could say, I've probably spoken as nicely about Sheffield United on my channel as I have Chelsea this season, even though I'm a Chelsea fan. I just really like what Sheffield United are doing, and I also think they play some really nice football at times as well. This game against West Ham, again, West Ham, we don't really know what we're getting most of the time with West Ham, and I can't separate these two sides on paper, so I'm going to say West Ham 1, Sheffield United 1. So match number 6, let's talk about Chelsea then, shall we? Going to be doing my Burnley preview, which is going to be out later on today. So if you're not yet subscribed to the George Benson football channel, you don't want to miss out on uploads, make sure you hit the subscribe button, click the bell notifications. I'll be previewing the Burnley versus Chelsea game, looking at the teams, looking at how Chelsea can go on and win this one. And I do think we will win this game. 6 wins on the spin in all competitions. We've seen a new style from Chelsea in the last couple of games where it's not all about outscoring our opponents, winning 3-2, 5-2, 4-1. We've been grinding out results. We've been a lot more sturdy defensively. And I think what we're seeing now for Frank Lampard is he knows, with his pragmatism, with the players we've got available, that we can change formations with substitutions and to adjust to the way the opponents are playing against us. Take a look at Burnley. Very well drilled team, very physical team, but they can also play football as well. Long gone are the days where Burnley is simply just a long ball team. They do play some nice football at times also, and this will be a tough game. However, without going into any more detail than that, Burnley 1, Chelsea 3. We're in good form. So let's move into Sunday's matches this week. We have got 4 very exciting fixtures and we've got potential for some shocks here this week in the Premier League. We're going to start with Newcastle versus Wolves in the early kickoff. Wolves, yet again, come from behind in the Europa League to win away from home 2-1. Raul Jimenez getting the winner. They are looking really, really good in the Europa League, Wolves, and I think that they will actually go quite far in that competition. As for Newcastle, last week against Chelsea, they did give us some problems, but it wasn't really in an attacking sense. It was more of a when will Chelsea break Newcastle down. If you watch the 6 things we learnt video from Chelsea versus Newcastle last weekend, Newcastle were very resolute. I gave them credit for the way that Steve Bruce set them up defensively, but the home matches, there's kind of a different emphasis. There's a different impetus for Newcastle, and they know that they've got to try and win their home games. They've got to try and build upon the fact that Wolves played on Thursday night away from home, and then they go into this game with maybe some jaded players with some leggy legs in there. You can tell I'm a little bit leggy as well, still from Amsterdam, with phrases like that. But despite Newcastle not really creating very much going forward last week, I think that was more to the positives from Chelsea defensively rather than Newcastle not trying. Gonna say 2-2 in this game. I think Wolves will have enough to get a result, but I think there could be goals due to Wolves' legginess and Newcastle maybe trying to attack a bit more. Arsenal versus Crystal Palace. Now, I said there might be some shocks, and I'm going to go with the scoreline straight out of the gate here. Arsenal 1, Crystal Palace 2. I can see Palace going to Arsenal and winning this game. I've not been that impressed or disimpressed with Arsenal so far this season. I can always respect a football team who might not play well, but still get results. If we bring it back to Thursday night, last night, Arsenal, they didn't play very well, but they won the game 3-2. Nicola Pepe scoring his first 2 goals, both from set pieces against a team that no one really knows that much about from Portugal. There's also been a couple of other games earlier this season where, again, didn't really think Arsenal played that well, yet they were grinding out results, and they still are, despite losing to Sheffield United, well in the race for the top 4. Crystal Palace, on the other hand, are a very difficult side to beat. They're very good when they go away from home against the big teams, and because I've not been convinced by Arsenal this season, seeing Crystal Palace go to Man United, they played pretty well against City. They tried to get back into the game, but we're talking about a different gravy football inside. City are always going to bag loads of goals. They could have had 5 or 6, but Palace still looked pretty good. And I've just got a feeling they're going to go there, upset one of the big boys again, and get a result at the Emirates. It's not just my Chelsea bias and wanting that to happen. I genuinely think there is an option that that could happen. And when they come to Chelsea in a couple of weeks' time, I will be worried about Palace because they're a good team and they play very well against the big boys. 2-1 to the Eagles. Now, without doubt, the biggest fixture of the weekend is the repeat of the Champions League final at Anfield. Liverpool versus Tottenham. Tottenham's Premier League form is not very good. Both sides got big wins in the Champions League in midweek. All of the English clubs picking up 3 points, which was great news for the Champions League. Spurs got a win. Never really going to say that's great news, but Liverpool looked decent as well. The goal from Oxlade-Chamberlain was absolute class. Jurgen Klopp's got more options available to him now, with players like Ox being able to come back into the team. Last week against Manchester United, Liverpool did not impress me. They relied on a late equaliser from Adam Lallana against a bang-average Manchester United side in order to get something from the game. The winning streak is over. They bounced back with a win in the Champions League, but this is a big game, and despite Spurs' form, I think Tottenham will be up for this one. They'll use that win in the week in the Champions League to boost them forward, but I don't think it's going to be enough. I think Liverpool are going to win this one by 3-1, and I think Sadio Mane might bag himself a hat-trick here. I predicted Batshuayi to get the winner in Ajax, so you never know. And the final match of the weekend is Norwich versus Manchester United, and weirdly, considering Manchester United can only really muster anything up from a penalty, I've gone with the highest scoring game of the weekend as Norwich versus United. I think that Norwich concede a bucket ton of goals. United have looked pretty good defensively. I joke about Man United all the time because I think they've been awful, but at the end of the day, I try and keep this series as impartial as possible. Despite them not being very good going forward, they are always going to get chances against Norwich, and I can see this one being an Ole Gunnar Solskjaer holds on to his job in the 93rd minute. Norwich 2, United 3. Norwich are in a bit of a problematic spell right now where they need to start getting results. It's all well and good us talking about their good, nice, beautiful style of football that they've played at times this season, and they've got some really good individual players. They've had a lot of injuries, but the Premier League, it's not about how well you play, it's about the results. Norwich need to get some. They could get something against United, who have not been that good recently. They got the win against Partizan. They go to Norwich, and I think they'll scrape it again. 3-2. That is my Premier League predictions for week number 10. I've got to rest my voice because I've got to do my Chelsea versus Burnley preview. Apologies yet again that I didn't manage to count up all of the other points from game week number 9. It's just been an absolutely crazy week, and I wanted to get this one out for you guys before the game between Southampton and Leicester later on this evening. Thank you guys for watching. As always, I'll leave a link in the description to the tweet that you guys can respond to. It's the only place that I take the predictions to actually enter into the competition. I've got all of the top scores listed, so come the end of the season, there will be prizes for those that have had the top scores. I think 20 is the highest that someone's had so far. My highest is 15 from a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, make sure you respond to the tweet. Subscribe if you haven't already to GBFC. I'll catch you later in my Burnley preview. Goodbye.